So we're back again another week with Gina and Melanie and Croatia. And I think Gina got it by the cards as her tag. So you can find us through Instagram and other platforms, Facebook as well. So today we're going to talk about the Eight of Hearts. It's an Eight of Hearts week. And we were talking about it a little bit in Clubhouse as well. If you ever get to see us on Clubhouse on Tuesdays. So hey, Gina, Madeline, how y'all doing today?
Morning, morning. Good.
Yeah,
How are you?
Good, good. As you can
not
sense,
to be persistent.
yeah, yeah, I'm feeling a little sick. As I had the Queen of Space and Neptune. I was like, I didn't. And actually, I had the four space in Uranus, so I think it'd be that bad. So hopefully, I get over it quick. But that's just a weekly, I guess.
You should, with that four spades, you should get over it fast.
Yeah, and actually, you know what's crazy? I met her for a space randomly. I was like, "What is your birthday?" Because I just know you're in my week. There's no way that you cannot be in my life somehow, and it was kind of weird, um, but yeah.
When you guys talk like that, like, oh, it must be this card, or I have this and this happen. What does that create for you as far as your, I don't know, your vibration or your thoughts about yourself? Like when you meet that person that's in your week, is it like affirming that you're on course, or like how do you identify that?
I look at it in several ways. My intuition with the cards is weird. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Um, because I figured it was my Uranus day. It had to be there. But just following your intuition, I think, a lot of times. And I guess I read something about the third diamond is letting go and, and going with the flow. Oh, yeah, I was looking at Aquarius Maximus post. But yeah, just following my intuition, and also kind of helps me learn the cards as well, as far as like the people who would take place. Also, I'm learning astrology at the same time because I'm like looking at it in like an astrological point of view, as far as how the cards really take place on a person's personal day. You know, it also helps me give readings as well, I think. So for me, because I read the cards, that's how I look at it probably first. But then also, yeah, I'm just learning people, places, things, my what I'm drawn to do, you know, and how weird these cards is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I I do a lot of weekly readings for people. So, and you start to get to know them and the people in their life. And so they'll have specific cards in their spread. And you're like, oh, that could easily be a person that shows up. Like how Rashad said, he had the four of spades as Uranus and he met a four of spades out of the blue all of a sudden. That is literally that. So that when you see that, that's when you really, what it shows me is you can't question like you really can't question things. Like you have to me, it actually brings me more faith, more, belief, more, optimism because you see like, okay, this was lined up. Like it's aligned. And then what you do with it, I think, is your free will, your choice, right? This person coming into Rashad's life, four of spades out of the blue, all of a sudden, you know, whether or not it, and Uranus is, it's friendships, it's the group mentality. So maybe they're meant to do something, in that space. But that's when I think free will comes in. Yes, they had an unexpected encountered meeting. Now, what do those two people do with that meeting, right? I think that's when we kind of, get to choose. Oh, I forgot to put my garbage out. And there goes the garbage man.
I heard a loud truck go by just now.
Yeah,
Too.
there's a truck. I was like, damn it. Oh, it's Thursday.
I'm sorry, Gina.
So next time
Man.
before we hit record, and be like, Gina, you got the garbage out, and
You
then
should, yeah, like, because it happens a lot.
I guess that's we got to help those jacks out sometimes. I don't know.
Okay. Dang it, man. Oh. All right.
That's all right, Judith.
Next week, Monday.
Yeah. It's Thursday too. Just a couple more days.
And now there's like a flash on the screen to like, a week or two's garbage piled up in all of her garage.
It's the week with them with Monday being a holiday. I don't know what day it is. I don't like those holidays because it really messes with me and my mind and like, okay. Anyways,
so that's an interesting segue because like I've been really thinking a lot about discipline. I've been really wondering like how to make it fun. Discipline, like think of it as almost like that you get to be disciplined,
Is it ever fun?
No.
I think that's the issue with Saturn. That's why people like, I hate to say like astrologically, like, and sometimes I hate hear people talk about Saturn and discipline or the King of Spades. It's like, gosh, like, is there any happy time? Is there any fun? But it can be fun. But it can be fun.
You forget Madeline is a king. We're the king. Like we're the 3 and a jack. We're like disciplined. Who wants to do that?
That is like.
It does not sound like fun at all. Actually,
it's like having another set of kids. I'm like, well, yeah, but we could make it fun because it kind of means you get to do whatever you want based on what you're focusing on.
No, there's this quote from a Kendrick Lamar song, and he was saying that people look at discipline as a restrictions on your freedoms, but actually discipline grants me freedom in other spaces. So I understand that concept completely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in my Saturn time, obviously. I'm 58, so I'm in my Saturn time. So, and I do have the 8 of clubs in Saturn, and I am a king of diamonds. So, but in truth, I do feel like most of what I've done is responded to need. And that hasn't really allowed me to have the discipline that I like. Because the needs of others or the needs of the situation, I'm very adaptable. I'm very curious. I'm very helpful. I'm very creative. But sometimes not being able to, like when I do what I say I'm going to do, like how we've been doing this, I feel so much less anxiety about it. I don't feel myself pushing at it. I don't feel myself chasing. I'm like, okay, that's already growing. That's in the ground. The sun's hitting it. The water's hitting it. Okay, very good. Keep going. But when it's not in that rhythm or that discipline, then it's always in the back of my head with whatever other stuff's in the back of my head that doesn't have a place to land.
I got a bunch of stuff.
I'm selling discipline.
It's just flying around.
And you're gonna catch it.
Maybe I'll do this today. Maybe I'll do.
That's literally how I work. Like really, for real. Like it's just whatever.
I definitely want to appreciate it. So then, thank you for picking this every Thursday morning, and hopefully the garbage comes with it.
You just gotta remind me because I'm so mad.
You've lost your focus. The garbage has got her, Rashad.
Yeah, it did. It took me like because I completely forgot it's Thursday, but yet. Knowing that we do this on Thursday morning, you would think that I would make that connection, but no.
Because I mean, that will linger in your thoughts of what you should have done and didn't do. See, that's where I'm selling discipline again. And I'm selling it to me out loud with y'all. Because come on, basically I'm a brat. But it's like, if you had that done, it wouldn't linger. Now it'll be in your head when you go out. Like it's going to live on you. And that to me as a character, that's the kind of stuff that played on my confidence. That's the kind of stuff that played on my ability to feel like I wasn't going to be a burden to the shit that I was dealing with. So I don't know. I'm not trying to make y'all feel bad. I'm trying to like really talk about discipline because I think we're in the 8 of Hearts week, right? Like 8s.
The 8 of Hearts has an 8 in Saturn. The 8 of Diamonds is its Saturn card. So, and that's, 8s are a disciplined energy, I find, because they represent that, that it's a power. It's a source. Honestly, it's like to me, I see it as like an internal source of energy because, it comes out of that 7, which is an inside out job. And so when you come out of the 7 and into the 8, what you've done internally is now your focus and your discipline and your determination. Right. And so even when you look at the 8 of Hearts, both of its karma cards are 7s. So even more so, like it is an internal job to then, build from that and staying disciplined, staying consistent. Those are very strong attributes of the 8 energies. It's perseverance, consistency, effort, willpower. I call 8s like Energizer bunnies because they really do. It is you put in the work, right? And that's why there's such a strong emphasis of a win, of a victory, of a overcoming any obstacle. But just as like if you're in a race, there was a race, or there's hurdles, right? And that's what the 8s are really good at. When they stay consistent, when they stay with that willpower and that effort, that's where the win comes in. And so it does have a lot of discipline attached to it as well.
Yeah. And I would say that with the 8s, like, I'll stay in my own lane with my own birth family, like, I believe if my sister and I weren't groomed in competition, like, my mother said, I told Gina playing cards yesterday, she goes, what are you talking about win-win with cards, Madeline? You grew up in a family that understands you're supposed to win so you can bust balls to the people that lost. Like, that's what we do.
That what she said? Oh my God. Oh, yes. She's from up north, from New York. Where's she from?
Queens. She's from Queens, New York.
Yeah, that's a New York thing. Yeah, no, okay.
No, it's just like, I get it, Mom, but that's not necessarily what I think. She goes, oh, what are we going to have, a tie at the Super Bowl? What the hell's the matter with you?
What is her card again?
My mom's a Jack of Clubs.
Jack of Clubs?
I said, Mom, she's a Pisces. I definitely got to do her astrology. I said,
oh, there we go. Sounds like, yeah.
There was a time, I said to her, there was a time that people's entertainment was watching other people kill each other, right? So like we went on to another way and we're still competing. I just wonder what win-wins, because it's never going to happen. Just remember what your family comes from. So I bring that to like, so here's another strong sister wearing her card as an 8, and I have the 8s in my spread, and she has the 8s in her spread. She is an 8. There's a competition that was brewed inside the soup too. And I wonder about that in the name of collaboration. So just thoughts.
What was the last thing you said? I was looking at the comment. I was going to reply to it. You said there was a
groomed of a competition, like the way my mom said, like you're supposed to win so that you can make the other person feel bad. So my sisters and I, like, we would kind of talk competition, right? So then when it comes to who's going to pick or who's right or what's the best thing, there might have been a low grade to high grade, depending on the mood and the day, competition about.
Yeah, I get definitely.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's especially with siblings. I think they talk about like sibling rivalries. Jenny, you have a brother?
Right? Yeah, I have a younger brother.
But it was somewhat similar. My sister's an 8 of diamonds. My brother's a 2 of diamonds, which is today's card. So we was all 3 years apart. So I think we all there was like a little competition, just a little bit, like as far as I know, my brother played sports and my dad pushed us a lot. So like I grew up in the sports arena, we played basketball a lot. So there was little parts and little stints where we was probably very competitive. But I think that up north type of thing is common to that area. They're just really different, the way that they're raised as far as having that type of mentality. And it's funny the Jacks, I think, do want to make everything a competition or a game. I think, yeah. So
I like to play. Let's play, like let's go. I mean, I love a good competition. I think I've told you all. I took she's my older one now, but when she was younger, we went to like one of those like trampoline park thingy majiggies, and they had like dodgeball. So I was like, yeah, let's play dodgeball. And all these little kids. And my daughter is like, Mom, why are you like, I'm all raw. I was like, we're here to win. Like, what are we doing? Gotta be nice. I don't care if they're 5. Like, the kid.
Oh my gosh. I used to play soccer with my older son's kids, and I used to like hip check them, and I got quite a hip checker. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they'd be like, Mom, you're like knocking our friends over on the field to get the goal. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, and it does get like, and my mother said, well, Madeline, that's what makes you stronger. That's what makes you do your best. I said, but it also makes you not think about the other person because you want to win more than anything else.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I like my oldest daughter plays basketball, and I've realized why I probably never got into that sport, because I would fight. Like you're gonna hit me, oh I'm gonna fight you. Like and I used to train, like I boxed, I trained in martial. I like to fight. I am aggressive. So yeah, if I was playing and basketball is a very physical contact sport, I would have been ejected out of the game. I would have punched, I would have hit, I would have done something. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's always so funny to hear how competitive Gina is.
I'm very competitive. I'm very competitive.
Yeah. Maybe that's where you're bumping with your 8 dance there. Maybe that's the part of you that's getting activated. Because I would say, in the idea of a Jack of Hearts being a heart card, being playful, being fixed, that anything that they wear on top of them that says, I want to fight, is pretty much a protective system, because they're carrying so much light and they're carrying this love and they don't want to get eaten alive.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I got into martial arts because of what I did for a living. This was a long time ago. You know, I always worked in the restaurant industry. I've bartended. I've always worked into the night hours. Right. And so, and I always would have cash on me. And, you know, when you're in that industry, you deal with aggressive people. And I'm not typically aggressive until you get aggressive with me. Then it's sorry for you. I wish you wouldn't have done that, because now you've opened up that part of me that I'll tear you apart.
Wait a minute. You're making them responsible for you, though, Gina. Come on now. You're turning me into therapy lady here.
Well, this is also when I was really younger, too. I don't fight now. I don't have the energy in me. But I mean, I'll stand up for things, but I'm just not as aggressive as I used to be. But yeah, I started getting into martial arts because I was like, oh, I wish somebody would. Let's do this dance. But no, to protect myself, because I'm very, you know, you have to think too. And I was in my 20s and I bartended. There's a lot of attention. That's a stage. Being a woman, you get weird people, you know, that want to wait for you outside or whatever the case may be. And so I've always been like, I also know too that, you know, there's, you know, I don't know, I guess maybe because of my psychology background and studying criminals, I've always been very aware of my surroundings and would not let myself be a victim. So I, you know, educated myself with the tools to fight. And I actually really enjoyed it because it was a way for me to get out a lot of that energy that I have inside of me, and hitting people without having to get locked up is not a bad thing.
I also look at, you have a King of Hearts in Jupiter as well.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about just the concept of Jupiter. I was at the Griffith Observatory, looking at the planet. I had a rough day talking about fighting. Oh my gosh, yesterday I was tested. you talk about like the cards and kind of, I think 7s, 8 of hearts, 8 of diamonds, like those kings, the ones that have kings. And I think what gives the 8s so much strength are the kings, you know. And it's funny, your mom is like telling you to be a king.
Basically. Yeah. And the Jack of Clubs has the King of Clubs in Jupiter. The Jack of Hearts has the King of Hearts in Jupiter. So yeah, these jacks, that's why the jacks can ride the fence. You know, we can fit into, that's why I always say the jacks can go from the Waffle House to the White House all in the same day. So yeah, I can be sweet and playful and fun like a whole kid, but fuck with me and you'll see that king, you know, come out real quick. You know.
I remember one time hearing that the 8s are also in the royal family, but they're like on their way kind of thing, right? So it's interesting. It's almost like giving the kid, if you will, or the next version, more power than is appropriate for you to still hold your sovereignty and your voice, right? Because it's like having a kid that's needy for attention, who has to have, like, I mean, I've jokingly said she calls herself a compliment whore. You know what I mean? Like she literally.
Who says that?
Sister Jennifer said she's a compliment whore, you know. So it's like she has a need for that. So me knowing she needs that compromise possibly my sovereignty and leadership as times as the king. Like my mother's telling me, be the older sister. You know, when you left the house, when you had your story, like everything just went where it went. So like take that voice back. And I'm like, I don't want that voice. I don't want to tell anybody what to do. She's like, but Madeline, you just told me you're the king. Aren't you supposed to? And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to tell people what to do, Ma. Like, she's just learning the cards, so we're just talking about it, and she's just so funny. She's going to be 8 in 3 days. So fun.
No, yeah, you kind of are in a way. I think when you look at kings, it has like the eights and the kings, like that. It's a control thing as well, and not to say that you have to have your way, but you masterfully have a vision or a goal. I think like the two of diamonds, the six of diamonds. People talk about occupation and purpose or vocation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just I don't think like just by the archetype, they can just do or work in someone else's system almost, because they have a mission or a goal that they're looking to fulfill, So it's like a sense of, you want to be an owner or you're going to know you're going to have some type of control or vision of the way that you want to operate in society, playing a role as far as maybe whatever you do. But like, let's say if I'm looking at working with children. Is either I'm gonna be in a leadership position or I'm gonna own the building. It's like just being someone that's picking up trash or doing certain things may not work because or even you can. I think even there are levels where people, even like a janitor, is gonna be the head janitor or he's going to actually show qualities of leadership, So I think it does come with the archetypes, and like the eights and the kings have very fixed point of views, they have a sense of will and control that they want to operate with. So it's just sometimes maybe natural, to be seen as the point person, and just because of the way that you may come off or the way that you may speak naturally, you may not even know it. It's like I didn't know that I was trying to be or look at as the leader. I was just, doing me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, I'm always going to land where it's like, okay, so how do the energies work together? Because they're here together. That's me. So I'm always curious about that, and I'll remain curious about that. But I want to go to this Eight of Hearts in regard to this one words that I always remember hearing in the very beginning of hearing about Eight of Hearts, that they were like vessels of love. And I know that as you come out of some of those sevens and those last classrooms and those woundings, that I think in this Piscean like time of awakening and deep diving and clearing, we're recognizing that only with love can we release these things. Because I mean, straight up, I love my sister. I think she's the best. Part of what makes me be as gentle and as patient with her is because I just love her. I love her so much, and I see her trials, and I see how strong, and I see how disciplined she is. Like, I've always been impressed by her. I've always been inspired by her. And I've always wished we could have, written a song together, but it's not how it went, and that's okay. But to get back to the loving energy out of the finger pointing, shaming, blaming, staying distant, justifying, not growing, like any of those stagnant things that can come when we don't let the love flow. There's this corny song I used to sing with the kids. It's like, this is the way we make the love grow. This is the way we make the love grow. Because it's like, how do we get that loving energy to push through that river of judgments, competition, programming, that kind of stuff? So what are your thoughts about that?
I think for the eights, it's about grace. It's really, you don't have to force it. Like that's the misconstrued, that you have to, overpower or force. You're such a beacon of strength as it is, and such a beacon of power as it is to me, that you should soften rather than be more forceful. So allow, you're an infinite flow of energy, you're an infinite source of love, you're an infinite source of values, you're an infinite source of willpower, you're an infinite source of mental power, all the eights, right? So
Mm-hmm.
don't force, don't push, stand in that power, and I guarantee you would attract, you would bring more, you would literally see it like constantly, because remember, when you look at the eight, there's no break in it, so it's a constant flow, but you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's a will, but it can be
Yes, because I think a lot of the eights I know do kind of stand in that. But if you say something different from what they think, or you say something that sounds kind of smart, they have to be smarter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, just like we're talking about, because they have that, like the Eight of Hearts has the King of Spades as its Uranus card. So it kind of comes in that jolt, because that's Uranus all of a sudden, just like you said. Because I feel like the Eight of Hearts has such a Rico Suave about them. They really do know how to they know how to turn it. I think if they're they know how to turn it on and turn it off. And that's probably that, King of Spades and Uranus, comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out, when they need to step into that power, it can jolt them. But it is about relaxing and really embracing like you said, like the love that they are, because they do, like I like the Eight of Hearts to me, and because I, was around one before I even knew the cards, and I always think of her. I always felt like, and she was an older lady, could definitely be like, my mom type age. But she reminded me of like a hug, like just a bit, even as I mean, whoo, don't cross that lady. But there was so much, like, you just want to hug, like, she's like big mama hug. You know what I mean? Like, you just like put your head on her boobs and like not all your worries go away because you feel that on her boobs, the pillows, and everything goes away, everything melts away because it's so much love. But when she softened, when she wasn't soft, oh God, watch out. But she still did it it was still coming from love though. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what I realized. The whole, like, everything she did was out of love, but sometimes it could be, in a lot.
She can be drowned in it, in her passions. I said she can be drowned in her passions,
Yeah.
letting it overtake her. I think, like we were talking about before, like the betrayal, like when those cards feel emotionally betrayed, or when they're not able to express themselves. I think all hearts, have this sense of following their hearts and expressing themselves and going on what they may feel is right or wrong, no matter what. And I think letting go, we always talk about letting go and the emotional attachments. I think hearts can, they have emotional attachments to things or people, whatever it may be, whoever sparks their flame, But yeah, definitely, I think that this is hard to carry those sevens, And it's like Jupiter and Neptune. I think they do want to express love and be loved. Um, I'll think about the Queen of Hearts and how they talk, even through their daily life, as far as the expressions of love and all those things. So, would they have that in Mars, maybe Mercury,
Yeah,
Venus, Mars?
their Queen of Hearts is Mars. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just
Mm-hmm.
the way they attack life and everything around them.
Mm-hmm.
So take, like, we're talking about I think the queens, kings, they have a king of space in Uranus, so that can be a fight. Very a fixed card in Uranus, as far as
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is right, the higher morals and your higher beliefs and all of those things. So yeah, most definitely, I think it can come with a very fixed um, concept of how to fix things,
Mm-hmm.
within their own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess it just keeps stirring back in my head. It's like, why at this point, recognizing we're all one and we're all connected and we're all seeing the same elephant from different places and we all have different experiences that give us perspective, why would we not become wise enough to recognize that we're going to be influenced in a stronger, more forward moving way by considering the other person's perspective and not arguing to be right? Like, where does that softening come from in those royal cards or in those spades where it's just like, oh no, this is how it is? I mean, I get the impulse to be like, oh no, I have a four of diamonds bestie who's just like, she'll like correct me at anything, so and we've gotten close enough that I'll be like, all right, that's great, that's the first round, let's take let's see what else there is here, because she's learned to respect that I have keen wisdom, because she's learned to listen to me past her being right and me going along with her, because I had to learn it, so I've been learning it. So when I'm always like, okay, so how does it all look together? You know, what do you know and I know that makes it better? And for some reason, that just doesn't excite people as much as like being the one who knows the answer, or the one who can do it better, or the one who, like, you know. And I'm
I think
not.
it's universal. I think it is a right and wrong thing to do things. You know,
What do you mean?
sometimes yeah, we all can play together into one goal and one mission. But I think sometimes people look at, I think that's the three, maybe finding another creative way, and always trying to solve an issue out of the box. And I think that's yours. But I think sometimes there is a right and wrong way to do things, you know, and we've been programmed, like you were programmed from birth to operate in a particular fashion, I think, and letting things go. I think those lines, I call those long roads, you know, built habits, things that you kind of program yourself. I think we undermine like how easy it is to program children and people into certain habitual ways, you know, so people become a reflection of that. And uh,
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think what you're saying is very true. That we get taught to kind of fight for what we taught to believe in, and learn to push for it because we think it's the right way. And of course, you're right. Like, it is right to be fair. It's right to do what you say you're going to do. It's
I
like,
can't hear you that well. I don't know if you changed your volume. Was it that me? Is that me?
what do you mean you can't hear me?
Can you
It's
hear me?
muffled. It sounds muffled. There, whatever you're doing.
Is that any
And
better?
the King of Clubs says they have the Eight of Hearts and Saturn.
We're really in it with those eights. What do we do with the royal eights?
We can't hear you. It's
Really?
still muffled. Yeah, it's having feedback. I don't know if you changed what you were recording on
Okay, is it better now?
or playing on.
Is it any better?
A little bit.
Hmm.
Oh,
Or is it me? It's not me.
I think it's you, Rashad, because when you move,
Okay. Can you hear it,
I
Gina?
hear you. You're fine.
I'm fine. Okay. Is Madeline fine? Are you hearing her? Or you said it's muffled too, right?
Go ahead. I don't know. Talk again.
hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right. That's better.
Okay.
that's better.
So we keep touching on the royals and the eights and the relationships and the value of everybody having perspective and the curiosity around how it is that we use the shared perspectives to create a way that we're not bumping up. And I guess it's like maybe we're supposed to bump up against each other and argue it out. I just wonder where the fight ends, right? Because I just continue to see that fragmentation in our human experience setting us up to argue with each other, which to me is like a futile way of using our energy.
Yeah, I think every life isn't an argument. You know, I think it just depends on certain things, certain ideas. I think we all have what our mission in life, you know, and I think that's where the riff is. I think as far as understanding someone maybe in a relationship, family concept, that has to be that person's growth. That's why we come to metaphysics as well, to understand why is this person like this? Well, they're just playing out their character and their role as far as, and sometimes we even let it's hard to separate work and home, and you know who you're supposed to be in life. So I don't think life is supposed to be an argument. There may be certain things, moments, and time periods where we meant to grow and learn from each other, and learn. You know, this is maybe this person's opinion, their philosophy, wherever they may be fixed in. You know, like an Eight of Clubs and Saturn. Who has the Eight of Clubs and Saturn? That's you.
King of Diamonds does, yeah.
You know, so that is your way of thinking and the way that you overcome it and the way that you look to fix things, you know, and the way that you're going about life. So it's
Well,
not to
keep me
be.
honest. Make sure I'm able to see it from all the eights and all the threes and the jacks and all of it. Like, that's why I'm in it. I'm in it to be smarter with all of you. So
Right,
I
right.
get too caught up in it. I just really want to understand more about how to use my energy to give room, but also stay clear.
Yeah, I think that's why we come to the class. That's why we're here. We learning each other, you know, and not to
Totally.
say, and how one another person or people operate um, in certain things, or so to become more understanding, right, and
Mm-hmm.
forgiving. I think for
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
sixes and everything else. But there's also, like you said, there's the kings and the discipline and the things that if you looking to go somewhere, it may have to operate like this. You know, there is a certain way that life works in this program. You know, you can't brush your teeth without putting toothpaste on the toothbrush, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you're looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, I can just put the toothpaste on my teeth and then brush it. It's like, why would you do
Nice.
that?
I like it. That's a good one. That's fair. So then what would you say to anyone who's taken the time to listen and take this ride? I know we had some comment too. Like, what would you say people's, awareness might want to be in an Eight of Hearts week? Or what is it that we want to be aware of that we can use to play our cards well this week? Have we touched it all? Is there anything else that we want to bring in around like how it affects you, the listener? Because I
Well,
appreciate you're all listening. But go ahead, Gina. Yeah.
I mean, the eight of hearts transforms into the three of diamonds, Rashad. So how's that?
Yeah, I have a my opinions about the Eight of Hearts.
Oh
And
wow, the Eight of Hearts turns into the Three of Diamonds. That's it. We should talk next time about this whole idea that somebody turns into something else. So does that mean that like that person's going to become that card next lifetime?
I think it's like your progressions. You know, if you're looking at astrology, it's your progressions of the energy. You know, because I look at like the eight of hearts sits in Neptune, Jupiter, and then you look at where does the three of diamonds sit. And I think that's the progression of that transformation card. What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to move to? Three of diamonds goes to Mercury, Uranus. So, I think it's an energy that we're just as much as our challenging karma card, an energy we're here to really move towards or embrace or understand and operate from, and that the eight of hearts transforming into a three of diamonds. Because so you think about the eight is that infinite number. Does it ever come out of itself? Does it ever explore? Does it ever want more? So it goes from that constant to an energy that, to me, that spreads, an energy that creates opportunity, an energy that gives you more ways to look at things rather than just the constant loop that you can get stuck in. Because that's the thing with eights, sometimes they can get stuck in that power, stuck in that loop, stuck in that frequency. And that's not that that's where their willpower, their consistency comes. But then what do you do with it? Do you go out? Do you explore? Or do you just stay there? And so
Mhm.
I think that's
Mhm.
growth. To me, that transformation ends up being a growth process, that come out of that, your sun card, your birth card, into this transformation card. But you got to work through all the hills and valleys through the rest of your spread. But when you
Mhm.
think of the concept of that eight of hearts and turning into that three of diamonds, kind of like coming out of that loop, expanding their opportunity, expanding their power, it really spreading their love is how I could see that. And
So,
spread.
Rashad, in your last life, you were an Eight of Hearts filled with love, and now you're spreading your love. Rashad, did you hear that?
I don't look at as much as like the past life. Like
Right.
it's always weird to. Aquarius is talking about this as well, as far as looking at past life and things in the cards. Is I think there's a lot of metaphysics is an observation as far as life, and I think death and past life, those things, it's hard to see unless you have someone that can see it. So it's like I'm still getting convinced in those areas. I think that's like an ongoing study, but definitely in this lifetime, the Eight of Hearts is drawn to me as far as what they're growing into. The things that I could inspire them to be, kind of like what Gina was saying. And because I've had past life readings, it's always weird. Oh my gosh, I hate talking about. Like I was just talking about someone earlier today about past. No, that was yesterday about what's happening in this particular lifetime. And how we have to kind of love it because seeing beyond the veil, I think, is something people are gifted with. I do know people that are, and sometimes it's like, wow, like so. I don't know if like the anime have like the really dope perspective of like the afterlife they show in that movie. So you have to kind of watch those. Um, I'm trying to think of one maybe. I can't right now. But yeah, there's one in particular where these people in the afterlife can help the people here. But then there's also the sense of consciousness as well. But it's like how many times do are you able to come back as well? Because I've had a past life reading, and I was like on the temples and all these things. It's very weird, like because this lady described a relationship with me and another person, and it was like, yeah, that's what you all like had a relationship in the past life doing. It was like very weird. So I'm sorry, you just triggered me to talk about the past life. But that's the Eight of Hearts. I think Jupiter and Neptune is a very philosophical. Like the philosophy of it is meant to expand. To meant to grow. And I think. Like Gina was saying, like having to let go and think of different ways to go about life and love. And I'm challenged by the Six of Hearts as well. So, I have my own issues with love, with love and relationships. But
He's
them
got
having
some
those
issues.
sevens, they gotta definitely learn to let go and use their creative energy in the best ways. So yeah, those transformation cards shows a lot of light as far as a person is connected to in this particular lifetime, the people that they're connected to, what they're growing into as well, how they can develop. Like Jenny said, the Eight of Hearts is a very financially or principle driven card as far as like gaining some type of value out of this particular realm. Whatever it may be, I think we look at diamonds as like material value, but there's a lot of consciousness and spiritual value behind it as well. It's in like Jupiter and Neptune. I just can't not just think about the the passion that they have. They go about life and trying to help and heal people and maybe get their point across. And like Jean said, you gotta open up, see how can you do that in the best manner as well. But yeah.
Well, and you think about it, Rashad, too. Like when you look at their Mars and you look at their reward card, both those, the Queen of Hearts, the Queen of Clubs. So they are a mother energy. That's what, like I said, though, get hugging the boobs, like that's mama, right? Like that's so, and when they can lead from that place, that nurturing place, because they can be very intense, but when they lead from that higher place, that's when I feel like that's when like love conquers, because they're from that Queen of Hearts, which is the mother, the nurturer, the higher essence of love, which to me means no lack, no fear, no, what's the word I'm looking for? Attachment, no conditions, just a higher place. Because when you look at the Eight of Hearts, those two sevens, and the sevens are an inside out job, right? And so the Eight of Hearts, maybe in a past life, was a healer of, I feel like they have very strong healing capabilities here. And but they have to do it from that royal space. It can't be conditioned or attached to something, or with like a string. Like if I do it for you, you have to do it for me. Let me lure you back in, right? They love from that higher place. And so but that then requires them to soften, to relax, to not be so forceful. You know what I mean? Because sometimes those queens want to force that down, like they want to like give it, take, you know what I mean? So it's a balance. And it's a balance, but they're very, they're very passionate. They're an infinite source of love, which it can be emotion. It can show up in so many different ways, but I think once they understand, they don't have to force it. They are it. That's when, everything can change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice.
And that can be the centerpieces of healing, right? For us all, so they can definitely you can find them in areas and places where love is needed. I think overcoming and the gift of overcoming is something that where Dean was talking about trauma bonding, like the healing centers. People can be those people that other people can go to in life when they need that type of energy. So like looking at how to use it and play the energy for good. So being sympathetic and healing, being that mother and caring. Like, cause I had the Queen of Spades and Neptune yesterday. I was like, I mean, parenting this kid. Like, it was so weird. I was like, how did I end up in this light? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like the Queen of Spades and Neptune. you know. So yeah, most definitely. I think they can definitely use that energy in a very conscious way to help everyone else.
I call
So
the Eight of Hearts Big Mama energy. It's such Big Mama energy to me. Hmm.
that's sweet. So
Hmm.
then the black eights and the red eights, what's that about? Like what's
Um,
happening there? Because like there what's with the black, the eight of spades and clubs and the eight of hearts and diamonds? Like what do you think that whole story is between all those eights playing like a team?
at one point the cars actually used to be all different colors.
Really?
Yeah, I
Like
think
rainbows?
I think they had different patterns and different colors. But the way that the books and everyone else kind of looks at it, I look at it as like receptive. One maybe being more receptive and one being more not combative, but more direct or focused as far as how they direct their energies. But I think it's just the way to display the cards and the patterns of the cards. So I do look at the reds and the colors of the cards and how they meet. Especially the cards like a lot of the hearts transforms into the hearts are more balanced, but if
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken, a lot of the clubs and the hearts have a relationship as far as transformation.
Three of the, it's almost, I think all but three clubs transform into hearts, if I remember correctly. So it's
Mm,
a lot. Yeah. They're very connected. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And then, and what is the diamonds pattern? It's like a club spade relationship, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken. You
Hmm.
know, um, so it's a focus of like energy, I think, as well.
Hmm.
But you want to say anything on that, Gene?
Right. The red, it's interesting when you have the Eight of Hearts, Eight of Diamonds, you have the Eight of Clubs, Eight of Spades. And, when you look through their spreads, like we talked about how they all have kings, the Eight of Clubs is the only card that doesn't have a king in its spread, but it's connected to the King of Spades because it's a fixed card, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
look at the other eights, like the Eight of Hearts we're talking about has the King of Spades. The Eight of
Amen.
Diamonds has the King of Spades. Even the Eight of
Amen.
Spades has the King of Clubs as
King
its
Clutch,
challenging karma
Pluto,
card. So,
and it's not Pluto. What it is? This is Pluto too, right?
what, the Eight of Spades?
Yeah.
No,
No,
not
not the King of Clubs. No, it's the Seven of Clubs. I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah. So you see the
that's
and we
Seven of
know
Hearts.
kings and eights are a power energy, but I think it's a they they try to over. I don't think they. It's not about overpowering others. It's just I think being in tune with their own power. The hearts, that's the red, that's the emotions, and the diamonds are your values, which are connected, right? And then your mind power and your willpower are also very connected too. So I think that's another way to look at it as well.
Yeah, and I think it's a certain amount of protection. It's like where are we living out on Earth here? Is there always forces of opposition always at play? Do you
Mhm.
have to really learn mental stability and focus and willpower? To overcome the obstacles that could be. So it's like those principles could be lifesavers. Not letting someone to control and manipulate you or emotionally. So those are like I said, like acting out or karmas or whatever it may be, like past life, whatever the karmas are, it's being played out on some type of level. So it's always interesting to see how those things play out and how a person play out their card. That's why we're here to kind of, like we said, to learn these things. But yeah, so yeah, those eights and those kings relationships, is very important. We're giving out a lot of stuff here.
We really are.
Go ahead.
I'm a little excited about the idea that we could be rainbows and not black and red, but I'm also wondering about the duality consciousness, the Piscean age, right? And how almost everything was kind of digested through this concept of this and this, this and this. And there's, like Democrat, Republican, black and white, boy and girl, like a lot of the learning and the developing
masculine,
of
feminine, king,
so, yin and yang,
yin and yang, heaven and hell, so like, up, down, yes, no.
Yeah. So we've been in a programming, an experience collectively where most of the learning has been through this comparison.
But maybe so back to the red and black, the divine masculine and divine feminine, we're taught you're only one when you really are all of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and
I think we should make them all gold. I think all the cards should become gold. We should be growing the gold and make a gold set of cards.
But it's
not,
is
that reality though?
And that's and I think too, that's what religion does to us too, is it makes us look outside of ourselves for this whatever, when really it's really, that's why I say, like, when I had your readings for men, I do reading for women, you see the king, queen show up. It's like you really tapping into your divine feminine and your divine masculine, not looking for a divine feminine outside of yourself being a man, when really it's within you.
But it is a learning process.
Oh, it absolutely is. We're all walking around.
And what do you mean,
oblivious?
So it's like, go ahead.
When you say, is it reality? We create reality.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
like,
it's something that you have to learn. It's something that's, I think, what I'm saying, the reality of getting rid of that, because someone can, it's like, yeah, you want to be balanced, but is that a reality of
I think we can use it for understanding. It was a beautiful structure to help us understand difference and honor it. And then this generation came in saying, we don't want to play in that us and them game. We want to play more united and come together. And we're all being woken up to the possibility that I'm you, you're me. We're all connected to the same kaleidoscope of energy, and we all move with the way the planets and things move. So yes, in fact, to me, the idea of growing the gold is growing your clarity, growing your frequency, growing your authentic expression in a way that you express your divinity in the reflection of others. And you're not trying to power play anybody, because you're just singing in the song that you sing where you go.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the setting. Like you have to get like more focused as far as maybe, like, are you talking about in the home, the workplace? Like, where are these type of relationships? Because I think within.
Why are you giggling, Gina?
Because Rashad, it's so like, let me see.
He and I just have this conversation all the time.
Like, no.
This is my transformation card. This is what I'm trying to figure out. I got to figure out how to give my love to the world like a 3 of diamonds, when this 3 of diamonds just keeps telling me, like, now, let's look at all these parts. I'm like, all right, I'm looking.
But there's this book, or I've sent it to you, Outwitting the Devil. There's a natural polar opposite to everything. There's a natural duality, and I think, not to say this is the only way, but it's hard to get away from spirituality. I think that's why the church have been able to control us so much, because I think mentally, physically, we're trying to understand these concepts, of why we are the way we are. I think men, or we just didn't wake up and be like, okay, I'm supposed to understand my masculine and feminine. Let me understand why I have so much Mars or Venus energy inside of me. What is all of this? What is my focus? What drives me? I think that's why we look at psychology, to understand these things. That's why we're here, to understand these people and the way they operate. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't come naturally.
Right.
I think it doesn't come, as far as, I'm sorry, without us trying to understand those things for ourselves and control those
Yeah.
things within ourselves, because to question and to understand where your emotions is placed and why is a part of self-reflection and wanting to grow and get better, or seeing that you're even wrong. Like how can you tell someone they're wrong when they're passionate about a certain thing, you know? So it has to be a certain that's why we're here, like, through metaphysics.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only way to understand and grow these things is to as through self-reflection. And it may not be have to be astrology. It can be self-help, self-think books, or whatever it may be. You know, I think we don't teach emotional development in schools a lot of times. We don't sit down with the children to ask them or to see why they're passionate about certain things, you know, to understand their mentality, you know. So
Well, it's
those
that herd morality that came through the churches and the different understandings. Like people didn't know how to handle all the masses that came. So there was the decision to kind of like gear people in a certain way and kind of keep everybody growing
you
with
got to
the
be
cheap.
scared of God so I can control your emotions. Like, let me control your emotions by forcing you to believe in this
Right. So
religion.
let me just offer this to the duality concept. Let me just offer the possibility that just like the trees, there's the roots below and there's the tree above, right? So that underworld, that under the belt, that in the dark, that stuff that's still percolating through our evolving species can in fact be muddy and dark and heavy. Though there's a way that the sun hits everything and it's always changing, and we're living in the life vibration of a growing energy like a tree. So all those things can still be there, but regardless of what's going on with the roots underneath or the sun and the moon and above, there's that center line that has to be filled with unconditional love, because from that place you grow grace and clarity for us to work together and not keep feeding lack and disparity.
Yep.
Like that, it's just, and I don't know where that even comes from when I say those things, but I can't tell you how strong I know that.
It has to come from understanding. That's the only way to get there.
Like from living life, from experiencing it, from seeing it, from
And
watching it.
I think it's also understanding the dark, not being afraid of going
it's part
into
of it.
the soil, getting into the dirt, and
It's so fun
well, yeah,
for me.
sometimes, not for everybody. Because what I think it also does, though, and this is my own epiphany of that dark night of the soul energy, is like it makes you look at you and your accountability, your responsibility. And once you really like grasp that, I think that's when your life really does change, because it is all, that's one thing these cards will always, you know, show you is like, look at you, look at your roots, and your roots are your like how you came up. And but how you came up is not how you have to continuously move either, because if it wasn't healthy or wasn't, you know, conducive to your, you know, highest good, just like I think was that last night? Like we're all adults now. Like we're all living, like you can't, where was I? And, oh, it was another group.
Not putting out the garbage.
Right. I was not putting out the garbage. But like we can't, like I feel like once you become, you know, grown, you can't blame. It's your responsibility to go back to those roots. And if they weren't planted in a healthy way, replant that shit. Dig them up and replant new seeds.
Or you know, like I'll say that when you get really dirty, and I'd love to farm and get dirty. Like I get so excited when I'm like covered with dirt. Like I was a kid playing in the mud forever. And you shower after that dirtiness, that's like the best clean. That's like think about when you go in there play in a muddy football field and you're filthy and then you shower. It's like you feel so much better when you clean up. So I do sense that it's like that it's just there to kind of help us be aware of what's going on down there and in those shadows. But I'll say this last thing about these underworlds and above worlds. Humans like to be entertained. And we, like I'll say, even with my mom and her family, we told stories about how her brother was a really sore loser. And almost every holiday when we were kids, there was a huge fight and he kicked us out of his house when he would lose the game at the end of the night. And they all would leave the house laughing because they thought it was so funny. But meanwhile, that guy probably stayed an idiot for 3 or 4 days to his family, and who knows what kind of damage he did. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing for us to consider. What's our entertainment? What is it that we're watching that we find, justifying or mocking or limiting, right? Because the way we're like, at some point, we entertained ourselves by watching people hurt each other. We watch dramatic TV shows where people lie and hurt each other. Like, what's our entertainment? And how are we being inspired by it?
Or is it really entertainment, or is it distraction?
Oh yeah, like the outwitting the devil stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, well, if I'm in that stuff, who's riding the bus? Like I'm not my mind or my body. I'm my soul, and this is a vessel that carries the light that I am. So my job is to know this vessel and to be that and to live it in a good way. If I let in everything else telling me what I should be and what I shouldn't be, I got nothing. I know when I took in everybody's voices and choices and made them louder than my own, I was lost in the sauce.
And I think that's the thing. Like, people think I'm weird because, I don't have to usually hear music in the back. Like, I choose what I, get. I feel like
it's a diet.
Right. Like I don't distract myself with stuff that I know is to take me out of what I innately believe or what I innately want to. I feel like I'm really big about like what my kids listen to, what they watched on, like, because that really can penetrate. So you choose your distraction, and how much you're going to give to that. And not to say that people who watch TV, if that's your thing, do your thing, do you. It could be a guilty pleasure. Maybe it's a good distraction to take you away from some other things.
That's a
People read
distraction.
books, people do, all different types of things. But I think you have to choose what you feed yourself to, and that could be, and that goes for your food, everything that you bring to you is a choice at some point in time. And it is where you kind of then can go. And I mean, I even see it with my little one, like when I'm like, what have you been watching? Because now her demeanor has changed, her the way she's talking. I'm like, where did you get that from? And you realize she's just mimicking what she's been watching.
So it's all mirrors, it's reflections. Right. And so that's the whole thing, where you have the above and below, and then we have the reflections to help us know what's trying to grow. Because what hits you touches you.
Yeah.
Like, do you ever get mad? Like, what do you get angry about?
You don't have
Who,
enough
you
time.
talking to me?
Yeah, both of you, just any, yeah.
I get mad when I feel powerless over changing something that seems obvious to me.
Mm-hmm.
I get mad at myself when I don't take care of myself well. Like Miles made pepper steak stuff yesterday. It smelled so good. It looked so delicious. I was sick all night. I cannot eat peppers, but I decided I could eat peppers. And I struggled not to like yell at him and cause a scene in the house last night, because while I was suffering with that pepper belly, I was like so mad at myself for like, what the fuck, Madeline? Like, why are you eating peppers when it does this to you? Like, that's just stupid because it smelled good, because it tasted good. You're going to do something that hurts you. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of things that make me mad.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever, go ahead, Jen?
Well, I think, things that make me mad. I've actually gotten a lot better. I used to get really, and I realized like your liver is a big part of your anger and your emotions, and supporting my liver helped me a lot. But now I think what would make me mad is like people not keeping their word. That's a big thing for me. I'm a big about keeping your word. I don't know. I guess there, what Madeline's saying, I think more so now when I realize when I don't choose myself, when I don't do something that I know I should have like done and made a sacrifice or did something different, then now I'm, frustrated or whatever. So I think that's
the sack of hearts matter. Sacrifice. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Or not choose, like, you know what I mean? Like sacrificing myself and doing it for that person. And then that, then you're like, see, that was dumb.
Yeah.
It's all reflective upon ourselves and what we can't control. You know?
Yeah, definitely. That's where the helpless thing of someone else, because even like, who am I to say when somebody should get it or not get it? But it's that frustration I feel because I want so much to impress upon somebody something that they just can't see or get yet. And I don't even know if anger is the right thing, but it's like there's definitely a righteousness or something gross that comes out
Even
of
I
me.
can feel you're mad, or not to say you're mad, but your passion is like, why can't we all just get along?
Right? I'm like always saying that. I really am. It's like almost annoying. I see myself. I'm like, Jesus Christ, fucking rainbow girls, shut up with that shit. You know, like I
It's like
want that
you want to
too.
raise everyone under this one church. It's like this you gotta
No,
have a
I want
temple.
us to reconnect to the temple of the earth and use it for inspiration to rebirth ourselves in a way that we're not separate, that we come back together.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
the
want to
same
be an
aspect.
example of it and inspire others to do it in ways that feel magical.
But there's
But
a
it's silly.
but it's a one world thought. It's like dang, it's not to look at people as sheep, but we are like so sensitive and programmed. It's like in order to do
To
that.
being individual. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to play in the Wii? Like, I think our me's are having a hard time playing with the Wii because we all really finally got our me, or we come from a long line of me's and I'm a me. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay, good for
there's
you.
collective thought as well. I think there is a sense of like social norms, and I think that's um, also a part of like what role do you play? Who are you? And what is your purpose? I think as well. And so there's a duality, I think. But how do you capture that and influence the piece or understanding of what it is
Mhm.
that you're supposed to do or your role? It's like the little girl that was in the classroom and there's one doll. There's only one doll, and then there's another Ken doll. Who gets to play with it? How do you go in and tell
Yeah.
that person like or split the time? Because in reality there is not a lot of time. So are we going
Mhm.
to get to do what we're supposed to do? There's a story that's supposed to be written, and her story is going to be different than her story. So it's like we got to go in and playwright everything. So there's this system that we all have to work on there, like who is
Mhm.
controlling and telling us to operate under this system. So there's a sense of free will and everything else that plays. So there's so we have to understand our characters, our roles, and our placements, and like you said, let go of the
Mhm.
ego as well,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
a lot of times. So I think there's things and cards and all these things being played, and it's like people are trying to understand how do you play it, but yeah, but I think, like you said, there has to be a temple, a structure, or understanding
Yeah,
of.
that's like the Saturn creates the structure and then we play within it, right? Like how what was shared. So two things come up. I remember recognizing with my second set of children, because they're like 12, 13 years apart, I couldn't use guilt to motivate them or to shame them anymore. I grew in it. I kind of passed some of it on, a little less than was passed on to me, but I had to find an entire new way of parenting that didn't impose guilt or shame. And I wasn't very good at it, but thankfully they called me out on it every fucking minute. As a Queen of Hearts, they weren't taking any of it. Do you know what I mean? But like I had a lot of learning to do around how to reparent and myself and them, because guilt was not an option for how I was going to do things. As a person, when people come to see me, they start to get like, why don't you make a church? Why don't you this? Like as if I'm their guru. And I'm like, I am by no means your guru. I might be an example of what's
You're
possible.
not following your passion.
I said,
Maybe you should have a temple.
I am not a guru. I said, a guru, first of all, removes obstacles from you to you. So if I'm a mirror that does that, that's great. But if you try to give me your power, that's a cop out. If
I
you
th-
want to share in something,
no,
then
you're learning, you're growing. Like we can't. People need leaders. There's no way to escape society without leaders.
fuck you, Rashawn.
People do not come in this life and learn themselves from just looking in the mirror. It doesn't happen. They need an objective point of view, and there has to be some type of philosophy or some type of religion or
And I
something to
would like to
frame it.
bring that. I'm open to bringing that, but I'm not looking to be someone that takes your power or you give me your power for you to feel better. I want you to use your power for the oneness and the grace that's upon us. And I
I
want to
think
be an inspiration to that.
And I think that's what a guru or whatever you want to call it is supposed to do, is to actually show you your power and then allow you to operate from it, not try to tell you what to do with it, how to use it. It's just to really like, isn't that what the biggest, your spiritual teacher isn't to answer your problems, is to whatever that saying is, but you know where I'm going.
Yeah. But I think that's why I think there's this great song that said "People Are Basic" by Kevin Gates. People are basic.
We complicate our own stuff. Like we really, we add the oppositions and the complicate. Like we get in our own way, and I think that is a big thing with allowing our children. And I've expressed a lot about how my kids have really, really transformed me, how I saw parenting, or how I was parented. I don't parent my kids that way anymore, but I was, and it was them like really showing me that and realizing it wasn't working. What may have worked for
which is what we're finding with the churches. People are saying they're not working, like we're not doing that anymore. So we do need another structure to grow a good person.
Right. And I think that's one thing, if anybody can take from, is what may have worked for one child may not work for another child.
You're right.
Because they're different people. They respond differently. They were born at their snapshot of their chart is different than their other kid, and they respond differently to different things. So, and I realized too that, they were, and essentially when you understanding the cards and the composite of us, it really has made a lot of sense for me, and really understanding the way they respond. Like my oldest doesn't respond well to certain things, and I had to really it made me step back and look, and what worked, like I said, what worked for me wasn't working for her, and she was very much trying to voice that. And I being me, coming up kind of this, like in a very similar way, this is kids are to be whatever
seen and not
heard. I say, not as I do, and you sit down, you don't have an opinion, you can't say anything. Oh my God, she's the most opinionated person I've met. And so allowing her to express herself, allowing her to tell me, Mom, when you do this is how it makes me feel, when that would never have been okay growing up. They didn't give a shit how I felt. And not because they're wrong, but it's just how they, you start.
That's where we were. That's as far as we had gotten then. Right. That's where we landed so far. You know what I mean? So, like we're taking the ball on little downs to the touchdown. Like we're getting as far as we get each generation.
Yep. And so to like that, they really, allowed me to see it. What really helped me do is see it from them and not from me. And that was important too, and
it's very important to see with all those eyes.
And it's still work in progress. Shit, we ain't perfect over here. I still, you're breaking things that were embedded in you. But I think when you open you really like take off a lot of the things that were put on, and you see it from a different way, you realize it might not have been the best way. But I'm grateful for the way I was raised, because I know the way I was raised is, what brought me to where I am. But I also know I can create my own path for myself and my kids, make it even better. Take what was instilled in me, and rather that being the end point or the end game, I can really,
you can take those hurts and wounds from the 7 and run them through the vessel of love of now, and you can start to reclaim aspects of yourself as the wholeness that we are always, and the balance that we are always, that in our mind starts to feel like we're not. So anybody who wants to get readings from these two brilliant friends of mine, Rashad and Gina, you can go to GWS Family, Rashad and Cards, or Guided by the Cards, Gina Guided by the Cards, so you can learn more about who you are and why you're here. And I just am excited to be focused and clear on this mission of family alchemy. And we're obviously one big family in this weird way that we don't understand yet. And I do accept whoever I am in the role of leadership, but I know that it's only with a team and a community that I'll be able to support possibility. Because I keep hearing in the back of my head that Jack of Diamonds conversation we had in the room, that like the Jack of Diamonds is just a talker. So I've been praying like, okay, let this stuff become real. I don't want to just talk about it anymore. I want to see it. I want to feel it.
Nick, we gotta get him on here. He doesn't.
Yeah,
He
let's do it.
refuses YouTube at the moment, but he does not like that Jack of Diamonds.
I know, man. I'm like, and it's his name, like it's my name, right? That's why he doesn't spell his name N-I-C-K. He spells it N-I-C because N-I-C-K is a Jack of Diamonds. It's so funny.
Maybe I missed that part. He said that in the room.
Yeah, he said that
I may have
N-I-C-K also is a Jack of Diamonds, just like Madeline's a Jack of Diamonds, but N-I-C, I guess, isn't. So that he identified with that Jack of Diamonds too. So
yeah, I was in the car. I probably didn't hear.
Yeah. So, but this is wonderful. I really appreciate how much more depth we're going. I want to listen to these again. Rashad, where are these popping up now? Are they on your YouTube?
They're on YouTube. Yeah, they should be on YouTube.
And can they be shared with mine as well in Harmonizing Our Family?
Yes.
I can copy them and put them in.
I may have to send you. I don't know if they're in the studio. I haven't even looked.
All right. If there's a way
after they end, I don't even come back. I just know it's on YouTube. It's like, all right, my job is done. I have to go to work now. So,
all right. Well,
so,
if there's a way any day that you can, even with my being there too, just show me how to take it and put it up to our website. I mean, our YouTube as well for Growing with the Seasons Family. That'd be great. But I'm enjoying this learning, and I once again feel the fire lit on being who I am. It's Lent season, and I've decided that I'm going to do something creative every day, and it's going to include shedding the person I thought I was supposed to be. And I'm not sure how it's going to come out every day, whether it'll be public or personal, but I'm going to shed all of the ideas of myself until Easter so I can be ready for this rebirth of my new self going to Utah in September and giving birth to all that I can to help us support a better place to grow grace.
So what is Lent season?
Lent season starts Ash Wednesday, which was yesterday, and it's now till Easter. And it's a time often in the Catholic religion that you would make a sacrifice, which I'm not doing. I'm choosing to let go of all of the imprints on me that have limited my full possibility. So I'm not buying into the sacrifice model. If anything, I'll be sharing where I did sacrifice and what the outcomes of that was. And so it's a sacrifice, or you can add new habits, so I'm also adding a habit, I'm adding some physical exercise to my arms specifically so that my heart space can grow bigger and I don't curve myself so much around my heart. I'm trying to open my heart. I'm adding habits to open my heart, and I'm going to release everything I can from how I was programmed so that I can be as new as possible for the rebirth that seems to be aligned in my path and others too.
As opposed to below.
Above and below, exactly.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say thank you. I have to look more into it, but I have to run. I have to go to work.
I know you gotta go.
I'm gonna end the podcast. So I appreciate you all. We'll see you all next week. Anything you want to say, Gina, or advertise?
No, thank you. This is always fun. Next week's the 9 of Hearts week, so that'll be real interesting to talk about, huh?
Yeah, and don't forget Dope Minerals. Check out Gina's Dope Minerals. I gave them to my mom yesterday. She had a great night's sleep. She was thrilled. She said she loved it. So don't forget to check out Dope Minerals if you need any of that magnesium baths or creams or deodorants to help your body know that you're taking care of it, because this is the vessel of the light that's you. So take good care of it. That's your job.
I was trying to get her to plug herself, but thank you, Madeline. All right,
Bye, guys. Thank you.
No, I'm saying thank you because she didn't even do